Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tat Padam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva Vedyat Ravinam, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we are still in our 8th chapter, the Lamb of Kutastha, dealing with these subtle distinctions between Kutastha and Ch.8, self, the real self, and the reflection of consciousness caught in the web of thought. What verse are we on for tonight?
Starting at 52.
Can you help us out, please?
Kartitvadin Udhir Dharmat Spurtyakhyam Chatmarupatam Taga Dadha Dvi Bhati Purat Abhasoto Brahmo Bhavet. That it is a genuine case of superimposition is proved by the fact that Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, partakes of the characteristics of both the superimposing intellect, such as agentship, enjoyership, etc., and the superimposed Atman, which is consciousness. So the whole Chidabhasa is a creation of illusion.
Yes. So my experience of this Chidabhasa is it has some qualities of the agent. I do. That's the karta. I experience, this happens to me. And that it also has the substratum, this borrowed light. I am the doer, this happens to me. But what's the me we're talking about? Understand very clearly. You don't have two selves. You don't have Chidabhasa, which is one self, and the Atman, which is another self. Are you you? That's yourself. That's the only self you are. Now, I superimpose on that. Where does the superimposition take place? In the Vijnana Maya Kosha, in the subtle intellect. I add to that direct experience, doership, experiencership. I also add to it the feeling of individuality and limitation. So I had Thai soup for lunch. You didn't have Thai soup for lunch.
No.
That happened to a different person. So it feels like the I in me is separate from the I in you. But if you introvert your attention, thin out the mind, and go looking for that apparently individual self, it falls. Because it's an illusion, it's a superimposition. Just like if I investigate the snake, it falls. I go, oh, that was weird. I thought there was a snake there. It's really a rope. So the Chidabhasa is imagined. Now, here's something Vidyaranya hasn't said, but I have found it useful. One of the other words we have for this ego sense is Chaya. Chaya means a shadow. So a shadow appears when light is occluded. But if you shine a light on a shadow in order to see it more clearly, what happens to the shadow? It dissolves, it disappears. It can only appear when light is occluded. So also with this Chidabhasa or this Chaya, it only shows up when the attentive faculty is turned outward. When consciousness functioning through the equipment illumines the world of name and form, I see the world of name and form, and it seems like there's a Jim there seeing it. When consciousness illuminating the subtle equipment illumines thoughts and feelings, I feel this, I think that. Or even more subtle, I do this. But it's always while attention's focused outward. And again, when you're looking at thoughts and feelings to a Vedanta, that's still looking outward. Okay. Go find this person. I look within, really within. Can't find one. Now, the phenomenal world, the body, the prana, the feelings, the thoughts are all known as objects of cognition. Chidabhasa is also known as an object of cognition because I see it rise and fall. Oh, Jim, I got so identified this week. Do you not know that you got identified? Where did that go in deep sleep, God? Did you see it go away? I was not aware of anything, so it went away. Uh-huh. So you see the presence and the absence of this Chidabhasa. It's just created by the mind. But you know the self in a completely different way. Kutastha, the self, is self-evident, self-luminous. It is not known as an object. It's the eternal subject. And even though it is like space, it is not no thing. I mean. How do you know it? I do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think myself, yet I am. The scriptures use terms like swayambhu, self-evident, swayam jyoti, self-luminous, self-effulgent. But that's a different kind of knowing than the knowing of an object. Now, listen carefully. That's different than the inside. Oh, there's nobody there. That is a thought. That's a vritti in the subtle intellect that did not create yourself. And that insight is not the direct experience of self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is eternal, constant, changeless. But when I thin the mind and introvert the attentive faculty, it's the subtle intellect that has that realization. Oh, there's nobody there. And that insight transforms it. All right, next one.
Ka buddhi koyamabhasa ko vatmatra jagat katham ityanirnaya yato moha soyam sansara ishyate. What is the intellect? What is the reflected consciousness? And what is the self? How is the world here? Because of indecision about these questions, ignorance has arisen. This illusion is also called samsara.
Yes. So, in Buddhist thought, the fruit of avidya, ignorance, produces three defilements. Actually, the word is kilesha, klesha, same as our Sanskrit. And they are greed or some form of kama, raga, aversion, dvesha, and moha, delusion and illusion, wrong perception. So here, Vidyaranya is saying all these doubts that I have. Who am I? What is the world? How has it come about? What's real? What's not real? Is there a God? Is there a self? How do I make it through this world without suffering? All of those doubts are the fruit of ignorance. And the knowledge is not just data. It's not just information. That can be useful. Gita says we need to have jnanam vijnanam cha. We need to have the understanding. It's important. But also the direct experience. The wisdom, which is vijnana. Next verse.
Buddhyadinam swarupam yo vivinakti satatvavat sa eva mukta ityevam vedanteshu vinishchayaha. He is the knower of truth. the liberated who knows the true nature of the intellect, etc., mentioned above. Thus, the Vedanta has decided.
So, what is it that you need to know? We'll make it simple. Anything knowable is imagination. You can't think a real thought. They're all illusion. No thought of self is real. If I think I'm a person, it's delusion. What is this world? The names and forms are just imagination. What's really there is Brahman. This is correct knowledge. It is absolutely verifiable in a mind made supremely pure. Long and continuous meditation and vairagya. Go. Next one.
Vritte sakshitaya vritte pragabhavasya cha sthitah bubutsayam tatharnyo smit yabhata jnana vastunah. It is said in the Shiva Purana that pure consciousness, Kutastha, exists as a witness to the rise and fall of the mental modifications, vrittis, their prior and posterior non-existence, and the state of ignorance prior to the inquiry about truth.
Yes.
I think we skipped 55.
Oops.
Oh, my bad. Evam cha sati bandha syat kasyedyadi kutarkajaha vidambana dridam khandya khandanokti prakaratah. The piece of sophistry advanced by the logicians and others, that is, what is the bondage, must be met by adopting the methods of Khandana Khanda Khadya by Sri Harsha Mishra.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Is there a note?
Yeah, it says, if Brahman is the only reality, who is bound and who requires release? If there is nobody, the Upanishad teachings are in vain. To such a question, the Vedantin may reply, do you ask the question knowingly or unknowingly? If unknowingly, you confess your ignorance, that is, you are in a state of bondage. If knowingly, your question is improper. No, I know the answer, but do not know what answer you give. Still, it is ignorance, and what is bondage but ignorance?
So I would move it into a little bit more modern language. This is what I call the lip Vedanta. The absolute truth is the self is never bound. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. Those are not real. Therefore, there's no such thing as bondage, and there's no other liberation than the already liberated state of the self. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you get angry and punch somebody, don't worry, it's all an illusion. If you want to rob a bank, knock yourself out, it's all an illusion. Go ahead, shoot heroin, it's all an illusion. This is a way to simply rationalize our suffering. That's not freedom. Where is the problem? Understand, the self doesn't suffer. If I'm suffering, who's suffering and why am I suffering? It's my mind. And there's a relative reality to it. It sucks. I have fear. I was talking with someone today, and he was visiting with a friend whose father has a fabulous house in Las Vegas with a swimming pool, and they were on the strip going to shops and buying all sorts of stuff. And he was comparing himself. I'm not as good as them. I'm not good enough. I'm wasted my life. I'll never. How am I doing? What do they think of me? Am I okay? The most painful position of the mind. I call it paranoid self observation. Am I okay? And he just had a miserable time because of thick identification with ego and comparing his sense of self with somebody else. I'm sure none of you have ever done this, have you? There's no way out by getting more stuff, getting more degrees, getting more money, getting more clothes, getting more jewelry, getting a bigger car. None of it will deal with that problem. The only way out is to remove the ignorance that's its cause. Get out. There's no end to the longing of the mind if it's caught in that trap. And no amount of rationalization, say, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, is going to fix it. We've got to go through the manual labor, for want of a better term. Viveka, Vairagya, Shamari Guna, Mohoshutva, Abhyasa Vairagya Cha. Until we have the direct experience. Oh, I see. I'm not a good person. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a failure. I'm not a success. I'm not popular. I'm not unpopular. None of it's real. Brahmas. There's nothing to do. Drop it. It's the only permanent solution. So here Vidyaranya is saying, don't settle for just being a scholar. Don't get caught up in faulty logic. Take the path that's suggested by the scriptures. See if even a little of this knowledge doesn't free you from great fear. Now, this fellow with whom I was talking, he's been doing this Vedanta for a while. He just got caught up in the influences of the world. It was Dusangha, being there on the strip in Las Vegas with all these stimuli coming, and people with all sorts of different values. He forgot. Then he got all caught up in samsara. He suffered terribly. Came home and practically had a breakdown. He just wept and wept and wept. Talked with him on the phone. Remember who you are. Oh, that's right. This stuff works if you work. Now, the next verse. We can go straight to the English because you've already done this. That's right.
It is said in the Shiva Purana that pure consciousness, Kutastha, exists as a witness to the rise and the fall of mental modifications, vrittis, their prior and posterior non-existence, and the state of ignorance prior to the inquiry about truth.
Yes. So this is, in a way, something that I have thundered, and that Urania is saying it too. Actually, ignorance doesn't cover the self. It's completely a phenomenon in the mind. So you go to the most miserable of creatures. How are you doing? Oh, terrible. What's going on? Oh, money, relationship, family. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're unhappy? Oh, very unhappy. By the way, do you exist? Oh, yes, I exist. What a stupid question. What's your existence? I'm unhappy. I just told you that. Are you aware of your unhappiness? Oh, yes, you want a list of all of my unhappinesses. So in the midst of his suffering, I am. I know. That's never occluded. It's never hidden. But in the mind covered with ignorance, I superimpose on that the qualities of the not-self. So here, the student comes to the Guru. Oh, Guruji, I am being roasted in the fires of change. I am being tossed about. Save me with a nectarine glance of your eyes. That's what Shankara says. The Guru could say, oh, so you're suffering. Yes, Guruji, I'm suffering. Do you know you're suffering? You are the witness, the knower of your suffering. Are you liberated yet? No, I'm very bound. You are the witness of your bondage. And then you go through sadhana. How are you doing? Are you more peaceful? Oh, yes, Guruji, I'm more peaceful. Do you know the peaceful mind? Yes, I do. Do you have moments when the mind is completely quiet? Very few, but I have them. Do you know the absence of the thoughting? By God's grace, yes, Guruji, I've seen that. Do you get re-identified? Oh, yes, it's terrible. Do you know it when you get re-identified? And the student continues with their sadhana. Have these real moments of samadhi. The nature of the self is completely evident. The teacher may ask, do you have any doubts about your essential nature? No, Guruji. But I'm going on a 10-day meditation retreat. Okay. All these mind states. What did you experience on the retreat? Oh, my mind got so quiet. Everything was so luminous. Very good, very good. Now that it's over, do you know more self? No, Guruji. Self is still the self. And did these mind states, as marvelous as they were, did they come and go? Yes, Guruji. So the self is the witness of ignorance. It's the witness of sadhana. It's the witness of the absence of the mind and the presence of the mind. It's the witness of ignorance. And it's the witness of realization. In the realm of Vyavahara, this process is very important. From the standpoint of the absolute, none of it has touched me. Now, I like to say that the seeker, the mumukshu, is seen to be doing spiritual practices so he may purify his mind and realize the self. The person of wisdom may also be seen to be doing practices. It does not add to his knowledge of the self. It's just the highest form of worldly pleasure. These post-enlightenment samadhis. In fact, it's the highest form of worldly pleasure. There's no end to how deeply the mind can revel. But none of it will add to your knowledge of the self. You either see who you are or you don't. Once you see who you are, you may go through periods where you forget who you are. But the Yaranya saying, don't worry about it. Who is it who knows both this knowledge in the subtle intellect and the ignorance in the subtle intellect? No big deal. Keep doing the tapas till you have sthita pragya, steady wisdom. Or as Tejo says, the 3 R's: renounce, realize, revel. Retire into the self. Soak the mind with the roar of Om, as Swamiji has said. This is why it's very important to make sure you don't get identified as a person who knows Brahman. Am I not enlightened? Is this it? Is this not it? You get afflicted by all those silly doubts. Do you know your essential nature? Do you know clearly Chidanandurupaham. My nature is bliss consciousness. Asangoham. I am unattached to anything. It's the only thing you need to know. All the rest, just mind states. Any thoughts on this? Now, if you want to get high, go do spiritual practices and enjoy yourself, knowing it's just worldly pleasure. Enjoy. Or not.
Could you also say the emptying out process of the mind is also like infinite in the sense that just keep emptying out?
I don't know what you mean by emptying out.
I guess just in the in the frame of Vipassana meditation, emptying out would mean watching sort of things come up and dissolve, and you're sort of digesting impressions from past lives and things like that. I guess that leads to maybe, in my experience, leads to maybe deeper meditation. That, like you said, like the mind can.
Well, you find out. What Vedanta would say is when you have that shift of your identity, know you are the space of your awareness, and none of the mind states are real. Why mess with them?
Right, but I guess in transactional world, when there's some reactions which are based on the past experiences that do come up.
Why are you worried about it?
Right, not worried about it, but I notice it's there, and it's in the corner, and I guess not really doing anything about it, it dissolves. And then
when you get into here, you're going to have to deal with everybody else's problems. There's no end.
Yeah, okay.
Unless you want to go live on top of a mountain. Right. There's no such thing as your mind. Do you get that? There's just mind. The emptier you get, the more you feel the thoughts and feelings of others as if they were your own. You will lose the capacity. You will lose the sense of my mind versus somebody else's mind.
Okay, that's fair. Now, there is no end in that sense.
Who's to say and who cares? The mark of the man of wisdom is he doesn't give an F anymore. As long as, that's bothering me, I'm going to try to get emptier, You're making efforts. Mm-hmm. That's something to drop. Right. Now, if you enjoy Vipassana, knock yourself out. It's just another wonderful worldly pleasure. This great serenity, this great peace. But if you find you're trying to get someplace and you're making efforts, that's not peace. Right. I have no thoughts or feelings of my own. Why am I concerned about stupid thoughts? Mark of the man of wisdom or the woman of wisdom is she's ceased making efforts. The kartavya is gone. If you're making efforts to get empty, maybe this will help. Someone out there who's studied Buddhism help me there. I think it's the transition between the fifth and sixth Zen patriarchs. So the fifth Zen patriarch is getting really old, and this monk has come. He's illiterate and he's deeply enlightened. And they put him to work in the kitchen. And as the fifth Zen patriarch gets old, he says, I'm going to die soon. So my successor will be chosen by writing a poem. One of the senior monks that everybody thought was cool. His poem is something like this. Bodhi is like a tree. The mind is like a clear mirror standing. Be sure to keep it free from dust. Keep wiping that mirror. The dude in the kitchen says, what's his poem? They read it to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Bodhi is not like a tree. The mind is nowhere standing. Where is there anything for dust to cling to? He became the sixth Zen patriarch. So be wary of the trap of mirror waving. Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's very different if you're cruising around in the morning and all of a sudden your heart goes, oh, I just have to go interior. And you sit and you can't help yourself.
To the spontaneous nature.
Spontaneous nature, it's because of the joy of it. It's just like, oh, I have to go take a pee. Or you may have a lot of stuff going on because of work, family, and stuff like that. And you go, oh man, I just need to sit for a bit and empty all this stuff out. I was watching a YouTube where they were showing Swamiji's itinerary, his personal diary. And I found it very interesting that one of the things, letters answered, yada, 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 personal sadhana. You would do personal sadhana. Who cares what you do? If you're enjoying whatever process you're doing, do it. But give up expectation. Stay out of the future. In the future, will this happen? My suggestion, this is it. If the klesha arises, you deal with it. If it doesn't arise, jive. Is that useful?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's how I've done my sadhana. That's all I can tell you. I'm a crappy yogi. All right, next verse.
There's 2 verses for the next one.
Oh my.
Asatya lambanattvena satya sarva jadasya tu sadhakatvena chitrupa sada pramospadatvatah ananda rupa sarvatha sadhakatvena hetuna sarva sambandhavachivena sampurna shiva samhitah. As the support of the unreal world, its nature is existence. As it cognizes all insentient objects, its nature is consciousness. And as it is always the object of love, its nature is bliss. It is called Shiva, the infinite, being the means of revelation of all objects and being related to them as their substratum.
Oh, this is beautiful stuff. So let's take it thought by thought. The first idea.
As the support of the unreal world, its nature is existence.
Yes. So, Sat, existence. We say Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world is illusory. But the substratum of this unreal world is Brahman. This individual ego may be an illusion, but its substratum, aham, is Brahman. And if it's all God, it's really Ananda. And the next idea.
As it cognizes all insentient objects, its nature is consciousness.
Yes. So I know phenomenal objects. I know the body, I know the prana, I know the feelings, I know the thoughts, I know the rise and the fall of Chidabhasa. I am the knower of everything. Or as Krishna says, I am the knower of the field in all fields. I am Chit, pure awareness. Known or experienced as the eternal witness. When it peeps out through the equipment and cognizes the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. Next idea.
And as it is always the object of love, its nature is bliss.
Yes. So here Vidyaranya is, again, going back to this point, there is no such thing as worldly pleasure. It does not exist. In the early stages of our sadhana, we say, give up our attachment to worldly pleasures. My problem has been superimposition. The objects are neutral. But if, because of ignorance, I desire the object, then when desire and object of desire become one, the desiring stops. I've stopped my mind. I've stopped the Vikshepa Shakti. And I get a taste of my own self-nature. Krishna says, everyone in all ways only seeks me. They just do it by the wrong means. If I want money, property, prestige, sex, etc., all I really want is Krishna, is the infinite. I just use all that stuff to induce the momentary state self-abidance. And this is why meditation is so critical. Because hopefully, in meditation, you will have the experience of objectless bliss. A non-mediated experience of your own self-nature. When was it? Was it Thursday last week? Class was over and nobody could move. Remember? What was it you said? Too drunk to move?
Yeah,
Something like that? Were you blissful? Yes?
Yeah,
What object caused it?
no external object.
Yeah. My beautiful voice. My handsome face. The beauty of the poetry? No. But they done to turn your mind back on the self. There it is. That's your self-nature. Chidanandalupaham, Shankara says, my form is bliss consciousness. There is no other sukha, happiness. My belief that it's the world that makes me happy is an illusion. It's an illusion. Next idea.
It is called Shiva, the infinite, being the means of revelation of all objects and being related to them as their substrate.
So here it is. Shiva, remember, Shiva also means auspiciousness. It is the summum bonum, the supreme good. It is the pearl of great price. It is the kingdom that's not of this world. It is the Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem. It is the Kamadhenu, the milk cow of all blessing. It's myself. And it's the substratum of everything. It's the most present thing there is. Never absent. Next one.
Iti Shaiva Puraneshu Kutastha Pravivechitāh Jiveshatvadirahita Kevala Swaprabha Shivaha. Thus, in the Shaiva Puranas, Kutastha has been described as having no particular characteristics of Jiva and Ishvara and as being non-dual, self-luminous, and the highest good.
So all of this is very clearly put forward, he says, in the Shiva Puranas. I think it's brought right to a clear point in the Mandukya Upanishad. So we talk about conditioned reality. Uma. Stands for the waking state reality. My waking state world, microcosm, macrocosm, the jagat, the phenomenal world. Dream state, my subtle body world, thoughts and feelings. macrocosmically the total mind. Yaranigalma. Ma, deep sleep state, causal world, my vasanas, macrocosmically Ishvara, the total vasana. But the self in me, the witnessing consciousness, and Brahman, substratum of the entire universe, which is Satchitananda, the last verse, pure existence, pure consciousness, and bliss absolute. They're the same thing. What you're looking for, you're looking with. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, all this. Next verse.
Maya bhasena jiveshao karotiti shratatpatah mayikaveva jiveshao swachhautau kamakumbhavat. The Shruti declares that Jiva and Ishvara are both reflections of Brahman in Maya. They are, however, different from material things in that they are transparent, that is, revealing, just as a glass jar is different from earthen ones.
I don't think this makes a whole lot of concern. So Jiva, this Chidabhasa, is transparent. Ishvara, the Lord, also perhaps transparent. Chidabhasa isn't so transparent when it's all mucked up with vasana. But what is it that realizes the self? It is the Chidabhasa. In the mind, and it gets very quiet. It's no longer really a mind. And I notice the knower. And I got these flashes of the subtle intellect. Nothing there. And that Chidabhasa is completely transparent. It dissolves. It isn't what it was because it's nothing real. If an Ishvara is transparent, who knows? Next one.
Annajanyam mano dehat swachha yadvat thaiva uttau mayika vapi sarva smat anyasmat swachhatam gatau. Though both are products of food, the mind is subtler and purer than the body. Similarly, Jiva and Ishvara are more transparent than the grosser products of Maya.
So the equipment comes about and is maintained by food. And there's an implication here. We are going through 17th chapter of Gita, and we just finished the section on the three kinds of food: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic food. And the implication is if you eat sattvic food, not only will it make your body healthier, but it is also conducive to a quieter mind. Eat fresh food, tasteful food, oleaginous food. What is oil? Don't eat stale food. Don't eat junk food. Don't eat rotten food. Why? Because the mind and the body are simply a subtle and gross form of the same thing. So it can make a difference. Can make a difference. Next verse.
चिद्रूपत्वं ससम्भाव्यं चित्तवयनैव प्रकाशनात् सर्वकल्पन शक्तायां मायायां दुष्करं नहि. Jiva and Ishvara, because they manifest the power of revealing, must be considered to be endowed with consciousness. For nothing is difficult for Maya that is endowed with the power to create all things.
So here we're talking about the relative luminosity, the borrowed luminosity of the ego sense. And then we would say Ishvara. Ishvara has the power, sankalpena, by means of imagination, to bring forth the whole manifest universe. You and I have the capacity to imagine a goal and work toward it. Our own sankalpa. And it is the light of consciousness functioning through Chidabhasa that illumines the world, my activities in it, my feelings, my thoughts. It's God, Brahman, functioning through Ishvara, Prajapati, Brahma, has many different names, brings about this whole universe. Next one.
अस्मन्निद्रापि जीवेशौ चेतनां स्वप्नगौ सृजेत् महामाया सृजेयेताव इत्याक्षय किमत्र ते. When we sleep, our dreams create even Jiva and Ishvara. What wonder is there than that the great Maya creates them in the waking state?
So I like to say you are the God of your dream. You are mini Ishvara, mini Maya. Meaning, first of all, Ishvara has created a mind that's capable of dreaming. You didn't do that. Ishvara did that. But in the mind of the dreamer is a dream body, a dream ego, a dream world, a dream thoughts and feelings. Your one unified mind splinters, refracts into knower, knowing, and knower. You can do that at night. What wonder is it that the Lord can do the same thing for this world? Next one.
सर्वज्ञत्वादिकं चेषेत् कल्पयित्वा प्रदर्शयेत् Dharminam kalpayedhyasyam ko bharo dharma kalpane. The Maya creates omniscience and other qualities too in Ishvara. When it can create Ishvara, the receptacle of these qualities, is it difficult to conceive that it can also create these qualities in him with a capital H?
I'm not sure what he means by that.
Would you like me to read it again?
Well, which him is he talking about?
That is Ishvara.
So Maya creates omniscience in Ishvara. Ishvara is the knower of the field, is the creator of it all, the manifester of it all. And in Ishvara, we have the total mind that a psychic is able to tune into. But I would say, is it any wonder that Ishvara can create a human mind that's capable of knowing a phenomenal world, that's capable of creating the dream world, and in the end, it's capable of knowing the self. All right, one more. Well, we've only got a couple of minutes. We don't have time. All right, so what's the verse for next time?
65.
And I think we only have 80 something in this chapter. Is that right?
76.
Okay, so we'll probably finish this chapter next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevadashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.